Welcome back to the Pretty Solid Pod. My name's Ava, your host, and in this episode, I'm going to be explaining how two men can go to the same college, have the same professors, bars, campus, and opportunities. And by the end of it, there's a dude who feels like their experience was all right in college, and another dude who feels like they took life by the balls and really made it happen, especially for what they felt like they could have when they first went to college. Man, I love this quad. The castle right here. I love the bell right here. I'm, very thankful to have gone to Illinois State University, but this school definitely kind of gave me an impression that, I'm gonna have to make shit happen if I want to change things. And I'll explain what I meant by that. And let's start this off by getting our posture up, getting a good beverage of our choice, and let's just kind of get situated. So I know how it is to be the dude on each side of the coin because when I first came here, I was petrified just to talk to anybody. I was walking with my head down. I was sitting in the back of the class. I was super nervous just walking to my seat in class. I would stutter when the professor would call on me. I would, just be really, really socially awkward, man. I don't really know how else to put it. I really realized that my situation was bad when Hella Weekend came, and I came there with a good attitude, a Halloween costume, a case of beer, not a 30 rack, but I had my skateboard on, my costume on. I was, ready to have a good time and shit. And they said that I could slide to the Halloween party, so I pulled up, and then I knocked on the door of the place, and I saw the person who I thought was my best friend at the time walk all the girls and dudes to the basement so that nobody saw that I was there. And then I ended up, knocking again like 5 minutes later just because I was like, man, like, what's going on? And eventually I realized after 10 minutes of, there, and I called him and texted him and shit, and the other people in the house, and no one responded, no one was, doing shit. I realized that, man, this is like some Pixar movie shit right now. I have a life that I really have nothing in. I have like nothing going on here. I don't really know how else to say it, man, but I walked home on this same quad, and I had like my skateboard that I was rolling the case of beer on. I think I had like a beer that I was actually drinking on the quad because I was just like, bro, fuck this shit. Let me do something that makes me feel like I'm living a little. All these people were walking by that were laughing with their Halloween costumes, going to and from parties and seeming like they were having a great time. And there was, me. All these people were having a good time, and I was just listening to those laughs and those giggles and those good times that they sounded like they were having, and I was wondering like if I'm invisible. I was wondering like what's wrong with me, like why am I so weird that I don't have good friends and shit. And then I went home and I basically thought like, how is this making me feel? What direction am I going in my life right now? I thought that ISU, college, I thought that college was the issue, but then I started thinking, what if I you know, just change doing things? What if I kind of, try different things? So basically, I felt like the people that I was around that weren't my friends, like all these other people, I felt like they were actually living, and I felt like I was just like letting life pass me by. I really felt like I didn't have good bros at all. I wasn't having a good time, and I was just lost as shit, man. When I got home from that walk after that Halloween party that I, didn't get into, I realized that I need to make some serious changes to my life if I want to get different results. I was trying to get invited into a lifestyle that I haven't built at all. I wasn't taking initiative to be social. I wasn't going out consistently. I wasn't taking care of myself behind the scenes so that when I am meeting people, I'm happy and good vibes and a good time. And that really, was kind of a mindset that I kind of carried with me through the next years, and some that I still have to this day because it's really helped me. And I was really thinking that like college is going to happen to me, like just by coming to school, leasing an apartment, meeting some people on campus and just going to class and coming home, that American Pie was going to happen to me, that I was just going to be plugged in the mix of all these different things, have all these different parties, friends, good times and shit. And really, that attitude just left me stuck and at my home on Hella Weekend, no friends, bad time, and realizing that I'm fucked if I don't make these changes. And so what I did is I basically started running little experiments. So I was like, what if I stay after class and talk to my professor? Or like, what if I answer that question in class on purpose and I don't stutter? Or what if I talk to the girl or the dude who's sitting next to me and get their snap just to like talk about class or study sometime? What if I, picked my head up instead of looked down and kind of looked around me and took in a bit of the scene instead of just letting life pass me by, looking down with my blinders on like I'm some fucking racehorse in a derby or some shit. And another thing that I did is I was wondering, like, what would happen if I didn't get fried before I went out to meet people? You know, what would happen if man, these bees and shit. What would I do if I didn't get fried before I went and approach someone, you know, socially, whether it's someone that's next to me in class or whether I'm going out and about. And I think one of the biggest things that make that change for me is that I was asking myself, what happened if I start taking care of myself consistently behind closed doors? And then once those doors open, when I'm going out and about in public and I'm taking action and initiative to meet people, what could happen? And that was a massive fucking part in what brought that change. So I kept like going out and putting myself out there, and I really expected like a giant breakthrough. I thought that the first time that I was gonna go out and meet someone and, you know, take action and introduce myself, that I was just gonna like find my tribe of bros, you know, that we were just gonna go and conquer the world and they were just gonna be super good to me, and, you know, I was just gonna have a really good setup in college. But that didn't happen. You know, I went out again, and that didn't happen. I kept, you know, taking this initiative, doing these social experiments and shit, and that didn't happen. But then after like a few months of doing that, I was at the skate park, and, you know, I was talking to different people at the skate park, and then I met this dude, Kibben. And then I was at like a grocery store a month or two later, and then I saw him in the grocery store, and I was like, yo, what up, bro? You know, how you been and shit? I was putting out good vibes and stuff. He was putting out good vibes back, and, you know, we exchanged each other's like Snapchats and shit. And then I hit him up, you know, asking him like what he was doing this weekend, and he was just like, man, like, honestly, my homies aren't trying to go out. Do you like going out? And dude, all I wanted to do was fucking go out with some like-minded bros. And so I was just like, yeah, bro, you want me to pull up and pregame at your place, or, you know, you want to, you know, pull up to mine? Like, I didn't, you know, I was just like figuring out how to talk to people, man, you know, and I thought that that sounded chill, and apparently it did, because he was like, yeah, man, like, you can pull up to me. And so, you know, I skated over to his place because I didn't have a car. I skated like 3 miles to his place, and you know, I brought like a little bit of beer. He didn't like smoke and shit, but, you know, we took like shots of what he had, and then I had a beer and he had a beer, and then we ended up just, you know, chopping it up. We both seemed like we were, you know, chill people. We already kind of knew each other before a little bit, you know, just from meeting at the skate park and then again at the grocery store to make that connection for real. And then, you know, we went out, and that was basically the start of my new life, just by meeting that one person and continuing to take that action months over months with no results. You know, like when I was talking to these new people and reaching socially and doing these little social experiments, I was going home feeling like, what did I do that was weird? Why do these people not like me? What's wrong with me? What could I have done better? And then I, you know, continued to do that over and over, and eventually, you know, shit happened. But it wasn't like it happened randomly, and it wasn't like it happened the first time. I was basically casting social lottery tickets every single fucking week for weeks, for months, and eventually it worked out. And that kind of created a feedback loop of, okay, if I'm taking care of myself and reaching and putting myself out there, maybe good things could happen. And then when I was chilling with these new people that I would meet, I would be thinking, okay, what like makes me want to chill with these people? And then I was just like, okay, when I'm chilling with these people, I'm feeling a little bit better than when I got there. You know, I'm having a little bit of better energy. You know, sometimes you can just connect with a like-minded bro or meet a girl and y'all really vibe. And that whole conversation that could have only just been a few minutes or even a few hours, it can completely change your fucking week and your month. You know, it can really make it a lot better. And that's definitely what I noticed with the people that I was fucking with. And over time, by me continuing to put myself out there and meet new people, being, you know, kind of newer, like different circles, and just, you know, try to have more of like an abundance mindset with people instead of a scarcity, needy, hitting you up all the time mindset. It really, really like helped me a lot, and it'll help you too if you try that shit out. And I realized that like I didn't want to chill with people who made me feel like the man or made me feel important. I wanted to chill with people who made me excited about my own life. And it's really hard to feel that way if you're genuinely not excited with your life. So that goes back again to like taking care of yourself. And are you really doing some shit behind closed doors where like you're listening to good shit, you're, you know, taking care of yourself, you're going in a good direction, and you're kind of working on yourself? Because if you are doing those things, you're going to create yourself to be a walking, talking good time. And I'm so fucking thankful that I did that, because if I didn't do that, man, I would still be that lost kid with his head down, so petrified to just do anything, man. Like, I had a bad breakup before I came to this college, and I was like super petrified when it comes to women. And I got cheated on a lot growing up by the girls that I was dating. And, that really kind of put me into like a scarcity mindset, thinking that there was really something wrong with me with women, and that, girls just didn't like me and that I was just invisible. But really, the more that I took care of myself and took pride in myself and was there for myself when no one else was, from me working out a bit or learning to be more mindful, practicing wellness techniques, just, listening to comedy podcasts to have a better sense of humor, getting into different things like fucking sports or, different kinds of music or different kinds of art or some shit. It all helped me kind of develop this whole personality that I tried to really focus on positive things. When it came to like me curating that life and that lifestyle that really got me excited about what I was doing, I found that that really helped me a lot more when it comes to like my communication with women. Because when you just turn yourself into like a walking, talking good time behind, the scenes, it's infectious when you meet someone new. You naturally have that charisma, that good shit going on. Maybe you have a show over there that you can, you have a show that some of your homies are playing in a band at that you can like invite a girl to if you meet her, or if you're out and about and you're with a girl on a date and it doesn't work out, you just go back home and chill with your homies who are they're just doing whatever, and you guys just hang out. You know what I mean? Like, it's just having that support group of bros is super important. Communication with women is such a big deal because honestly, I used to have like real issues with that. I used to be fucking petrified of approaching a girl if I thought that she was attractive or if I thought that we would click. And I learned after like years of walking past, these girls and just being like petrified to say hi or to introduce myself. Or maybe I said hi one time a year ago and I fucked up and I didn't, approach anyone for a while. Like, that vibe was old. That was like the old me. And the new me was someone who, reaches. Because a closed mouth doesn't get fed. That was helping me when it comes to making friends and being social with the bros. And I was like, man, like, what if I, improved myself more and took initiative to, start conversations and reach socially with women as well? Like, what would happen? And I got rejected a lot. But I took the rejection with stride. I wasn't like pissed off or tweaking on them. I would just, keep it player, leave, like maybe I would be butthurt that night, but then the next weekend or two I would go out again and, I would just reach again, not at the same girl, but, I would just try to do things a little differently, maybe spray a little more, a little less cologne, maybe, wear a fit that I felt more confident in, that kind of communicated more of who I am now versus who I used to be. Maybe it was that, I just worked on posture and body language and found that, changing your body language and knowing exactly things that really help communicate who you are going to do that, instead of trying to, be looking down and all hunched over and chilling in the corner and shit. Like, that's just not getting you points, bro. And I know that because it wasn't getting me points. It was getting me in that position that I was in on Hella Weekend. By me just taking care of myself and building myself up, and just kind of curating that, I ended up having a less scarcity mindset because I was having a better time in general. So when I would go out and I would be rejected or some shit, I wouldn't really be tripping because I'm having a good time regardless. I finally have some bros in my corner that are there for me. I'm there for them. We're just having a good time, like-minded bros, shooting the shit. It's really not complicated. We're just, good fucking bros. It's literally that simple. And so by having that behind the scenes, it's not like I was going home crying after being rejected and being all butthurt. But mind you, there was times where I definitely felt that way. But just like, when it comes to that skate park situation where when I met that homie at the skate park and then I kept, reaching socially, and then I ended up meeting him again, and we started going out together and shit. It's like I learned to continue to persevere through those times where it really feels like nothing's happening at all, where I'm wondering what the fuck is wrong with me, if I'm just invisible, if nobody likes me, if I'm not built for this good time that I'm thinking that I want. But just by persevering through that shit, it ended up happening, man. And I'm very blessed to have continued to go, because that's just, something that really taught me a great deal, really taught me how to like continue that motion that you're making when it doesn't feel like it's going. Now, if something's not working out for a long period of time, auditing it and making sure that what you're doing is moving the needle is good. But if you're doing things where you're generally going in a good direction, good things are going to come. And I feel like keeping it that simple is something that I struggle with, but something that I'm, working on much more. And, simplicity leads to consistency and shit. But, and back to, when I met the homies initially, like the skate park situation that I was talking about earlier, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. I don't know why the fuck I expected a good time to be handed to me on a silver platter just because I signed a lease and got into a college and was on campus in my apartment. But I genuinely did. I genuinely thought that just by going to my motherfucking class that I was going to get introduced by people who I really clicked with, who, really value me as a bro. I was going to meet like a girlfriend who really took, who we like took care of each other when having a great ass time. But none of that shit happened until I started, building myself up behind the scenes and taking care of myself. And by me taking care of myself, the world started taking care of me, man. It's fucking crazy how that shit works. And, like I was saying about creating yourself to be like a walking, talking good time before you even introduce yourself in that interaction, that is the bulk of this. If there's anything that I want y'all to take from this, it's that if you work on yourself and do the things that really align with the man that you want to become consistently, and then you go out and you're consistently reaching and practicing the closed mouth doesn't get fed mindset and doing it strategically with some cool, motherfucking fly, with like, trying to be chill, trying to be cool, trying to be confident, trying to even learn what the fuck that means and keep going, you're gonna get there, bro. Because the only way that you're not gonna get there is if you stop. And like I was saying about auditing, man, that shit's really important, because if I kept doing what I was doing like a year after that Hella Weekend thing, then I wouldn't have kept growing. But my interests changed, the rooms that I wanted to be in changed, the friend groups that I was in actually kind of changed with the times of the direction that I wanted to go in, of my interests, and of the man that I was becoming. Like I was literally learning who I am here. Because in high school, I was so lost, dude. High school is a tough time for a lot of people, and it was for me as well. But, college doesn't have to be that way. And not just college, but life doesn't have to be that way. Regardless if you had a good time at college or not, these are lessons that you can take way past college, man. Like taking initiative and taking care of yourself and running like little experiments socially of what if I do things differently? What if I take care of myself? What if I say hi and introduce myself to that person? What if I go to those events and those things that are aligned with my interests so I can actually meet like-minded people who fuck with me for me? Like, what if, Like, that's something to really think about, and it's something that I really thought about. And, after thinking about it for a while, I ended up getting out of my room and actually, putting that, pen to the paper, putting the, whatever, I started like doing that shit. I don't really know how to say it, man, but fuck. There were a few books that really changed my mindset on this, by the way. So the first one that I read was The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I read this in like 2023 or the beginning of 2024, and it completely upgraded my mindset. I was living like a lifestyle that I was kind of happy with, but after reading that book, I really took the action from that book. Like I like reading books and actually experimenting on what they teach me, and that really helped me a lot with that book specifically. And another book that worked was The Law of Seduction by Robert Greene. So this is a book that has to really do with like dating and shit and communication and shit like that and just attraction and shit. And I noticed that there were girls who I thought of from like way back in the day, or maybe an ex-girlfriend, where she had like seductive qualities of some shit that was like really old school human shit. You know what I mean? I don't really know how else to say it. You got to read the book to see. You can also listen to it for free on YouTube, I'm pretty sure. Robert Greene probably doesn't want people to know that, but, not my fault. I didn't put that shit out. But another one was like The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. And then a book that a friend of mine actually gifted me was The Law of Attraction by Michael J. Lozier. The Law of Attraction really helps you attract more of what you want and less of what you don't. And when I met this homie, his name's Elliot. He was with some homies that I knew from the MMA club at ISU, which is a club that I joined, and like halfway, kind of in the third year of my college experience, because I was, kind of ready to do new things. My interests changed, like I was saying, and I met this dude out, and he was like giving off good vibes, better vibes than the homies that I knew from the MMA club. And the homies from the MMA club were kind of like just, keeping to themselves as bros, just like, literally not talking to any girls. And when they would be like super drunk and shit, or, a bit rude, and just not keeping it chill, bro, not keeping it bean, and not putting out good vibes to get it back like that. And me and that homie that I met, Elliot, were different. We were on the same wave. We were like taking care of ourselves outside of the bars, a lot, and we were, treating ourselves well. And so we ended up just clicking up. And then once me and Elliot clicked up, man, I was like, yo, all the people that I've been chilling with, they align more with what my old goals are. So I don't necessarily, need to just not see them again. But with where I'm at right now in my life, I'm going to focus on where I want to go instead of where I know I'll continue to go, which is a direction that isn't exactly aligned with who I am now. It was aligned with where I was like a year or two before that, but we change, so yeah. And so when that dude gave me that book, like I was like, yo, this shit's trippy. I have a like-minded bro who's into like reading shit that's really gonna help us, with our mindset and our life and shit. And we're able to just walk and talk and chop it up about that. There's a dude who I actually know who's into similar shit where I can text him or he can text me or we can have a group chat. And we know that just by being in that chat together, we're going to be feeling a little bit better than when we came in. Like we're going to be doing a bit better just by being in the environment that we both curate by being in it. And that shit was life changing, bro. And he's still my friend to this day. Shout out to Elliot. And then I met a homie through him named Patrick. Now Patrick's one of my best friends. It's the same shit, man. Like we're just dogs, and we align with kind of leveling up and trying to be the best that we can be, man. And it's not like we're like being rude or cocky or some shit. We just have a healthy competition with the man that we used to be. And if there was a question that I could ask myself after my first year of college that would have completely changed what I was going to experience, if I keep living exactly how I am today, what is my life going to look like in 4 years from now? With the same habits, the same circle, the same direction, and the same action and thoughts that I'm having. And I realized that I'm going to be with homies, on that hella weekend, homies that treat me like dog shit, bro. I'm knocking on the, they said that I could come through for the Halloween party. I'm knocking on the door. And I saw my best friend at the time, walk all the dudes and the girls away to the basement. So I was just out there. I just donated plasma, by the way, because I was too lazy to get a fucking job. And so I had like, a little cotton ball with like some fucking iodine, around for like it's what they do for plasma donations. Then they have like the wrap around to stop the bleeding. And after I donated plasma, I went to the dispo, I went to the liquor store and got some fucking, liquor or whatever, or, a 24 pack of Coors Banquets is what I got. And then, dude, I remember that walk home, bro. Like I was walking home here. I had my board on the fucking, like the beer on the board, and I was just feeling so fucking weird because the board was just doo-doo, on the sidewalk, and I was walking alone. All these people were fucking smiling, having a great time, laughing with their best friends, and I'm over here thinking that by staying in my room, I'm gonna have a good time. Fuck that, man. Life, damn. Y'all see that bug, man? That was crazy. That question, of me like wondering the lifestyle that I was gonna live if I kept doing the same shit, it really like scared me when I realized that I was going in a direction of unhappiness and just with the wrong people. And meeting one good person and having one good influence can completely transform your life, but you're never going to meet them if you stay inside, if you just keep to yourself, and if you just expect this shit to be handed to you, because I honestly did. And that got me some really bad times, some super dark thoughts, and being in a place where I felt lost in, disconnected in, and where I was just petrified just to pick my head up, man. I don't know if you guys see the flag right there, but I didn't actually know that flag was there within like my first 4 months of college. In my 4th month of college, I was walking on this quad and I picked my head up and I was like, oh, there's a flag right there. That's the center of campus, bro. Like, this is the center of campus. I didn't even pick my head up enough to see the motherfucking flag. You know what I mean? Like, there's these beautiful trees around here. One of the things that I love about ISU is that every single tree on the quad is different. So it's like a own like national forest preserve or some shit in Illinois, It's not like said to be that, but it is. And I didn't even like notice the trees. I didn't even like look up, man. Like, and in my opinion, the world is for us to see and enjoy instead of ignore. And, I remember that version of myself who, had the same opportunities and wasn't using them. And I know the version of myself who, takes that initiative repeatedly and gets those reps in and gets those steps in. And, it's fucking what it is, man. So if there's one message that I could leave y'all with when it comes to like, what I learned here, is that a closed mouth doesn't get fed. And that's what it is, man. So y'all take care of yourself, y'all train hard, and keep taking that action, man. And if you're not taking that action, then, fuck, man, I know exactly what that's like. You know what I mean? I was that. You know what I mean? Like, I literally, that's what I woke up with. That's what I went to sleep with. And that's what my mindset was, man. But fuck, man. Hopefully I'm able to help that version of me, or that version of me who's having a tough time socially, or who just, is having a tough time with any of this shit. That, yo, man, like, y'all got what you need, man. If we're able-bodied, able-minded, and if we got another day, bruh, we got it all, bro. We got it all if we make this shit happen. Oh, man, y'all take care and train hard. Peace out.